know just what you're doing now. Rock the boat, rock the boat. Hey, work it in the middle, work the middle, work the middle. Change positions. Oh, now stroke it, baby, stroke it for me, stroke it for me.
What's up, friends? We're back. We're Black and Curious. I'm Kandron.
Hey, now it is your girl Dehjai, and we are back.
Back. Just a heads up, all of our beauty and drink details are down below. So for January, in the spirit of New Year and all of those things, we figured we would talk through some thoughts about where we thought we'd be, where we are, and how we're going to get to where we thought we'd be, maybe. So the first conversation we want to have is about the right to change your mind, because I think that is
Pertinent.
key. It is key. Um,
I think a lot of people forget that you can change your mind and that it's okay to do so, and that it's healthy to change your mind sometimes.
I want to say that people don't forget, they just don't know. Like, at a certain point, I feel like that's something you have to learn, especially if you grow up in a certain way. We've talked about, familial bonds and all of that stuff. I'll try to find the video where we talk about that kind of stuff. But when you have this idea about where you want to be and you commit to it, and especially if it requires you to have a certain amount of education or a certain amount of this, it's just like you get into a space where you're just like, no, I have to make this work. And it's like you don't realize, like, no, actually you don't. And that is what is called a sunk cost. It's already done. You can't worry about it. So either you can go down the road of chasing this for another 10 years, or you can just decide, I'm not doing that. And I'm over it. And let's move on now.
I think so. My perspective in terms of like people feel like people forget that you can change your mind. It's from the perspective of like when you do decide, well, like I thought I wanted to do that, but actually I don't want to do that. So I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then the folks that are like, what do you mean? Like that judge your decisions.
Yeah.
And judge you in a way that's like telling you that it's wrong to change your mind, that you should have just stuck with the first mind that you had, as opposed to being true to who you are and what your experiences have been, and doing something differently if it don't suit you, to the point of what Kendra said. I think like that often happens a lot when we are sharing information with people who don't really deserve access to us in that way.
Or even like people who just don't get it. Like they just don't get it. I think we talked a little bit before about how, our parents, like they worked in the same jobs. They were there for 30 years. They retired, and that is their life. And that was what it was. And they don't necessarily always get this idea of like, so you're going to do what now? Or especially like in my case, for instance, like I've already spent the money. Well, spent the money, allegedly. I have already incurred the debt to go to school. And it's like, and so you're going to do what? And why won't you just use your law degree? But it's and also I had to have that moment with myself of like, still trying to figure out how to fit the law degree into all the things I was actually interested in. And it's like, girl, maybe it just doesn't fit. And like, and for me, it's like, I keep my license active. So if I catch a little client from time to time, that's fine. And I enjoy that from time to time, but I don't have to try to make my life fit that. Like that, I don't have to do that. And that was an epiphany for me. And I want to say it was maybe within the last maybe like 5 years or so, where I was just like, girl, just let it go. It's your license is active. It's not going anywhere. So if you want to use it, you can, to like supplement yourself, but you could just let it go as well. you know?
It's so interesting though, because I hear you talk about this and I'm like, I didn't get to the point of being licensed. I still have like a year and a half left for my degree of study, which is like clinical social work, which would be like a LCSW licensure or somewhere in that track. And I was in a place where I was like, you know what, I don't know that I really want to do this kind of work. So if I'm not going to continue to do this kind of work specifically, then why go forward? And I actually had this conversation with Ken last week where she and another friend of mine, off both Virgos, y'all Virgo people, just was kind of like, primarily because I am in the field of like coaching, that I should just go ahead and get that additional like stamp that most coaches do not have. They have coaching certificates from their institutes, but they don't have the level of training that I have. And so it would be smart for me to go ahead and just finish my degree and get my licensure. And I'm just like,
I mean, listen, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. This is multi-layered.
Yeah.
I said it because you were so close to finishing.
No, and I understand that. I've said that too.
Of the, and because of the fact that a lot of coaches don't have it, and I feel like it would help to differentiate you because you are doing similar work. Yeah. So I felt like that was the reason for my justification for continuing your degree. And frankly, like people contact me, or like I've had law students contact me like, girl, I don't want to practice. Like, what do I do? And I'm actually going to write a book about this at some point. I started it, but I'm going to write a book about this at some point. It's like, okay, it depends on where you are. Like if you were in your first year, drop out. If you are in you're midway through, like you're halfway through, you've already taken a bunch of debt, girl, you might as well finish. Like it's another year and a half. You might as well sit for the bar, because at the end of the day, and we talked about this, for me, it's like, I say it flippantly, like, well, I mean, if I catch a client here or there, but like if I catch a client here or there, that's like a decent amount of money, you know what I'm saying? So it's like to fund anything else that I have going on or that I might want to do. So it's like, it matters like where you are in the process of whether I say to continue or not. But for me, it's about like, even if you have finished or you have reached the goal, being able to say, maybe this isn't for me. And like, maybe I should just do something else, and being willing to just say, I'm going to leave it behind, or I'm going to make that very secondary to what it is that I'm doing. Yeah.
I think a lot of the reasoning for us having this conversation is to just kind of let people know, like, yo, you are entitled to change your mind, whether you are in the middle of something, you're at the end of it, or you at the start of it. Like, you have the right to change your mind and do whatever is best for you, and you should do that.
You absolutely should. Like, that's something I encourage people to do, is like constantly be taking stock and like set time aside for yourself, monthly or biannually, or whatever the case is, like whatever you feel is sufficient to like do an assessment, of like, hey, is this working? If not, then I need to adjust, or I need to walk away, or I may need to pivot. We have a conversation on pivoting that I'll link. And, just being flexible. Like, everything is not so black and white. Like, there is gray.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I have this friend of mine who is, she's a certified coach. I forget the type of coaching that she's in, also Virgo. And she talks about like having gone through, she actually wrote a book, her and a friend of hers wrote a book about pivoting, so to speak. Like that's the undercurrent of it all, but like understanding yourself in a way that allows you to live your most authentic self. And one of her major things that she talks about in the book and has spoken about with me at length is like, doing things and then doing a self-check of like, how does this make me feel? Do I feel good when I do this? Do I feel confused? Do I feel bad? Like, what is the feeling? And then going towards all the things that feel good and right, in spite of what the hell else everybody else is thinking. If you feel good about it, then that's what you should be doing. What you do doesn't have any bearing on anybody else, not unless you are detrimentally affecting them in some sort of way. Absolutely. I also would say that, like, hold it in your mind that people speak to you from their level of limitations. And so when they're criticizing things that you want to do or ideas that you have that work for you and your thinking, they are speaking to you when it's negative, or they're questioning everything that you're doing. They're speaking to you from their level of limitations. And what I mean by that is they can't imagine themselves to do whatever it is that you fathomed and you decide to speak about. And so because of that, it's like a, like, and I feel like this happens a lot within Black culture. It's not necessarily a negative connotation, but it's a little bit of a dig. Like, a few years ago, I was saying, you know what, I want to still continue to work with Mac, but I want to move to Atlanta. So I had already started doing all my research for where I wanted to live, what counters I wanted to apply to. And the person that I was seeing at the time was like, I mean, Atlanta is oversaturated. So like, you're just going to move down to Atlanta and like be one of the many. And I was like, yeah. Like, why not? And this is before, like, I really was like, oh, this is horrible. I hate working here. But yeah, I was just like, I mean, there's money to be made there. And if I want to be in television and film and like freelancing for myself, then I need to be in a city that makes that happen. And at the time, it was like, like 2013, something like that, when it was really starting to get popping with all the Tyler Perry stuff and the films. And then a few years later, he fucking built a whole lot there. So like, I would have been doing great had I decided to go, but I changed my mind. But to the point of like the naysayer conversation, like, he would have had me believe that I wouldn't have made it because there were so many other people down there trying to do the same thing. And so like, that's a prime example of, even though it wasn't necessarily like a negative conversation, it was enough to kind of make me, if I felt so inclined, question my ability to succeed there.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And then a lot of times too, like, people who don't really get what you're doing, that's the thing. It's like, it's not even necessarily a negative thing of saying like their area of limitation. It's like their area of understanding also. It's like some people just don't get it, and that's okay. And
mean, for you to get.
And not only that, like, I don't come from I'm not a person who's like, oh, I gotta prove my haters wrong. Like, I'm not one of those. Like, I am just a person who is very strong in my belief about who I am. And so I'm like, no, I'm just gonna do it because I want to. And I said I wanted to, and now I want to, and I'm gonna do it. And that's really it. Like, I don't need negative, like some people need the negative. I don't need negative. And I don't need to like prove anybody wrong. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay too. It's just a matter of feeling like I'd rather have the, whatever that phrase is, like, I'd rather know that I tried than to have the feeling of like regret that I never even attempted to do the thing,
Hello.
I'd rather try and fail than never have tried at all,
Yeah. But like, that's what old people tell you that really have like some sense about them, or that are not invested in your success or failure. They'll tell you flat out, like, it's better to try and fail than to never have tried at all. Because when you get to be of a certain age, you don't want to be sitting there like, damn, I should have tried, or I should have did.
Yeah. Which is why, like, I think even though, things don't always work out so good for me, but like, hey, the dog can say that she tried. The dog can go into the ground if I go in there today saying that, like, hey, she was adventurous. Like,
okay, that's one thing about Miss Kandron. Okay, she didn't do things.
That's good for me. Like, I like that feeling,
Y'all. Gracious. So had a wild night. But yeah, like, I think that it's important to literally do whatever it is your heart is calling you to do.
Yes.
And if you get into it and you figure out like, this is not working out. Okay. This is not what I want to do. And even if you get to that state of this is not working out, this is not what I want to do, but I don't really know what it is that I want to do, that's okay too. Don't be afraid to be in that position, because that allows you to be open for whatever God has next, if you believe in God, right? Whatever higher source you believe in has next for you to discover.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, like I joke a lot to say, like, you know, I've done some stuff that's been moderately successful or not successful at all, and that's fine. But like, that is what it is. It's like realizing that what I was doing.
Daddy is calling again.
Or are you gonna?
Come on, phone. Okay, carry on.
Okay, so it's realizing that what I was doing, or like the career path that I had put myself on, that wasn't it. So a lot of the, things that maybe didn't work out, it's just a process of me keep trying things, that because I know that that is not my path. Do I continue to work? Do I continue to make money off of the degree that I have? Of course I do. Of course I do. But at the end of the day, I'm constantly still trying to figure out like what that other thing is that's going to really make me tick. And, I keep trying. And that's really what it's about.
I mean, hello. And is. And don't let nobody tell you nothing different, child.
Yeah. And if those things don't work out, guess what? I quit them hoes too.
Hello. I'm good at that shit. I'll be like, you know what? This ain't working out. I don't want to do this no more. And then I move on to the next. That is one thing that Karen said that I'm good at.
Like, this is not it. No, thank you. I'm good on that.
Leave something. But the thing is, I wish that I operated that way when it comes to people and relationships.
Oh, that's a whole other conversation.
It's a whole other conversation. And we might have that today. But yeah. So stay tuned, children.
Yes. Let us know in the comments what you have changed your mind on recently. Yeah, we would love to hear about it. Do you know that you have the right to change your mind? If you don't, we're here to tell you that you do.
Hello, I'm just now discovering it, girl.
So drop down in the comments and let us know what you think.
Till next time, y'all. Peace out.
Laters.